And welcome back to the Nothing Show. It is 8:13, and we are taking a quick look at Bitcoin today. We have seen some new price action. I want to talk about it real quick, and then we're going to talk about dirty, filthy gold and how it is an essential key to the money laundering business for drug cartels, and it's pretty much all sponsored by the United States Mint. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. Let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin price today, brought to you by, let's jump around a little bit, this is Coin Market Cap. And so I got this kind of, let's zoom in real quick and just take a look at the price action. This is the daily chart, and you can see it just closed at 5 o'clock, so we're actually onto a new day here. We're have a slight pullback. I haven't called that since the start of the day, but you can see we had a nice green candle. I actually punched out of my last trade right here at the 46,000 mark, or maybe slightly higher. I'd have to take a look, but I had about 20% profits, and I was waiting for the pullback. So I ended my trade and made a little bit of money, and then when we broke that 46,500, which has been a strong line of resistance. This whole area between 46, let's zoom out so we can talk about this a little bit. This whole area between 46,000 and about 52,000 is a strong, either support, prior support, and now strong resistance. I think that 46,000 mark was the first real breakthrough, and when we got to that 46.5, I got pretty bullish and started a new trade. So I'm back in at like 46,700 or maybe 47,000. I'd have to check my trade to be exactly sure, but you can see in the chart right here that right around 46,000 to the 52,000, you have a lot of old support, which will be resistance, but we get north of that 52,000, and I can see us going straight up to new all-time highs. We just hit a new local high with today's price action, and it's looking pretty bullish. I know we had some divergence on the MACD, and the RSI was also a divergence, so those are kind of bear signals. But I think with just the market sentiment, with so many people now coming into Bitcoin and crypto in general, we're seeing bigger numbers on the YouTuber influencer pages, and we're seeing the money flow coming in. We've seen like a $400 billion jump in the total market cap. So things are looking bullish if you ask me. And that's what I'm putting my money on, as long on Bitcoin again. And I've been in a swing trade with Ethereum now for about 4 days, and it's hopefully going to respond. All of the altcoins too. Picked up a little bit of AMP. I got about 850 AMP coins today for $52, and looking to see some price action on AMP. Maybe we'll do an episode and talk about what AMP is at a later date. Let's get into the real gold. We always talk about Bitcoin being digital gold, and it is superior in so many ways. One of the ones that I think makes it most superior to actual dirty physical yellow gold is that no one has to be murdered over it for it to be exchanged and for it to be a valuable commodity. I know it gets a little knock on the environmental side because of dirty coal mines and using that coal power to fuel the miners in China, which now China has banned Bitcoin mining, so that is not quite such a problem as it used to be. And I believe right now we're about at 2/3 environmentally sound Bitcoin mining. The other third, I think, we will come into line too, as we see all these miners from China relocating throughout the world, and hopefully with smart governments we can incentivize them to use the energy that's already produced to mine Bitcoin. I like to remind everyone too that using energy doesn't create pollution. When I turn on my computer, there isn't a big billow of black smoke coming out of it as I run it. It runs perfectly clean to the environment. So using energy, using electricity, I should say, be more specifically, is clean. making the electricity can be dirty, especially in coal, right? So that said, we make plenty of electricity. We have more than an abundance of electricity being made. It's just not always being able to be used when it's being made. So like in the middle of the night, they're making electricity, but none of us are awake to use it. But these offer opportunities in the power grid where Bitcoin miners could come in and say, we're going to run our Bitcoin mine during these low peak hours and get a deal on electricity and work hand in hand with power companies to do more environmentally friendly Bitcoin mining. You could also do projects where countries with natural resources like waterfalls or hydro dams, or you could do just wind farms, and just the opportunities are unlimited, where you could just make a Bitcoin mine out there right next to your waterfall or your hydroelectric dam, where you don't have to transport the electricity, over hundreds of miles before you actually use it. Power grids have a 500-mile hard stop on electricity, and that's why it's hard to do electrical grid with a volcano, because volcanoes typically tend to be far away from the population, and by the time you got that volcanic electricity energy to its source, it'd be too far away to actually move it. So 500-mile hard stop on electricity in a power grid, it just limits your ability to tap into some natural resources. But with a Bitcoin mine, you could set it right next to it. You don't have to transfer it, a few hundred yards or whatever it is, and you could have a money generating source for your country, or I suppose the private sector could do it too. I know they do. So anyways, moving on. So that's Bitcoin. Again, let's talk really quick. There was a hack. There was the Polymatic hack that all the money has been returned now. And the reason for that is because it was hacked off the blockchain. And although blockchain and Bitcoin have this notorious past of being affiliated with money laundering and cartelling and illegal activity, it really isn't, because you can see every transaction and you can trace it everywhere it goes. So this dummy, he was probably on the inside. I haven't done all the research on it, but he had probably worked at the at Polymatic, or had an in, and was able to exploit their security and steal $6 million in cryptocurrencies off the exchange. What happened immediately after they found the breach was they saw where the cryptos went to, and they contacted all the centralized and decentralized exchanges and said, put a block on this wallet and don't let them exchange the tokens and liquidate what they had stolen. And everyone did that. And then so the guy goes to try and liquidate, and he can't, and he realizes he's been blacklisted from every exchange on the planet, and did the only thing he could do and returned the money, and tried to write it off as, oh, I was just trying to make a point that you have breaches in your security, that you have weaknesses in your security. But I don't believe it. I'm not buying it. I think he was just trying to make a quick buck and realized he was going to get nailed for it, and tried to reel it back in and try and do the right thing after he had stolen the money. Anyways, let's get back into gold. So that's one side. You got Bitcoin. On the other side is the actual yellow, dirty, filthy gold. And you all have heard of blood diamonds. We're all pretty aware of blood diamonds. We've seen the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. We know what it's a murderous, dirty empire industry. I wasn't quite as aware of it as I am now, that gold is also the same. That you get into the South American countries, especially Peru, apparently gold just flows out of the rivers and in the rainforest of Peru. And so here's the problem. You and I run a very successful drug cartel importing coke and other nefarious drugs. And we got $1 million. But the problem is we want to buy a house and a jet and a Lambo. And we can't just go and spend $1 million in cash because it's so traceable. And the government, at least in this country, has done a pretty good job of shutting down dirty money, that you can't just go out and spend a whole lump sum of unclaimed cash and not blip on someone's radar. You know, you go and try and throw down $500,000 cash on a house, they probably call the FBI on you, and you probably have a lot of splaining to do. So we got this $1 million, and really, in reality, it was $100 million done several times, this little process. And so we got $100 million in cash profits in 5s and 20s and 100s from selling our nickel bags and our dime bags. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? We can't do anything with all this cash. So we need to try and get it in. We need to get it laundered. We need to get it into a system where we can actually get an asset or get some cash that we can have claimed and use it without being in trouble with the law. So what we do is we go down to a place like Peru, and there's all these fronts for illegal gold mining. We'll talk about more of this in just a second. And we buy 20 million, 80 million, $100 million in illegally mined gold. And since there's no governing body over gold about, you know, how the gold is sourced, there's one question that has to be asked to make it legit. If the United States refinery is purchasing gold from a mine in Peru, they have to ask the miners that are selling the gold, do you operate an illegal mining operation? They say no. You check the box. You're done. No more further questions. It's now legit gold. So you buy the gold, you import it in the United States refinery, they write you a check for $100 million for your $100 million in dirty, filthy, murderous gold. And now you have, the bank says, oh, you received $100 million for the sale of gold. Well, that's completely legit. It all checks out. All the paperwork will be legit, and you're good to go. Now you have $100 million of clean United States dollars that have been laundered to this filthy, murderous yellow gold. So what they do in Peru, because 25% of the country lives in extreme poverty, that there are very few opportunities for work, especially out in the fields, in the village, in the rainforest where the gold is. So the villagers are pretty much forced into a life of having to mine this gold, and they do it by hand with the most rudimentary tools out in the rainforest. So to do it legally, you have to have a big operation. You have to reforest the rainforest that you're cutting down to mine the gold. Well, if you're a poor farmer living in the village, you don't have those kinds of resources, so you just work for the cartel. You go out, you chop down the rainforest, and then they just sift the mud and water from the rivers where they have deforested, and gram by gram they just mine out the gold out of the rivers, and in the process they have destroyed hundreds of thousands of acres of rainforest. They use mercury to extract the gold. The gold will stick to the mercury, so you can extract it out of the sediment more easily. They stir the mercury in a big kettle with their hands and feet, so these miners are being exposed to mercury. And if you're not aware of mercury poisoning, and like the Mad Hatter got mad because hatters used to use mercury to treat beaver skin and to sew beaver skin hats, which were a very popular look back in the day. I wish they'd come back. I'd love to have myself a beaver skin top hat. I think it'd look dashing. But I digress. So they're using this mercury. They're exposing themselves to mercury, which can cause dementia and all kinds of blood disorders and destroy your kidneys and your organs. Very bad for you. Shouldn't have mercury exposure. You certainly should not be stirring a kettle of it with your foot. And then what do? Once they get all the gold separated from the mercury goes back into the river, and then everyone downstream drinks the mercury. So they're just poisoning the earth with mercury. They're chopping down the rainforest. If anyone speaks out or tries to report on it, of course you're just murdered. Your body is thrown up into the hills just to decompose. By anyone notices you're missing, by the time they find your body, it's so badly decomposed that they can't even do an identification on it. And of course, in these poor countries, they don't have CSI. They don't have black lights that can go to crime scenes and just shine it on there and run a DNA sample through their database. They just find a dead farmer and throw him in a ditch and move on, and everyone lives in fear and no one can talk about it. And anyone that's not involved feels like they're going to be a potential victim, because how drug dealers are, they think everyone that's not in their organization is a snitch, and what do you got to do with snitches? So countless people have gone missing, murdered, kidnapped. Anyone that has tried to report on it, speak out against it, has been kidnapped and murdered. And this is all backed by the United States Mint, because once the gold enters our country, it goes through our refineries, it goes into our treasury, and they don't care. They know. They have a list of all the refineries, and all these refineries have ties, have been in trouble. And as much as one guy's estimate, one company was responsible, 100% of their gold was mined through illegal mining in either Peru. And then so it was like huge in 2013, and then the Peruvian government probably had pressure to crack down on it, so they cracked down on it, and you saw gold go from 2012, $80 million in export, 2013, $1 billion, 2014, back down to $100 million. But then you see in Bolivia and other surrounding countries, the gold booms to between the two of them to almost $1 billion too. So the gold gets smuggled out of Peru into neighboring Bolivia and Ecuador, and then gets sold on the black market there. So it's a huge problem. People are either unaware of it that are in gold, or just don't care about human rights and basic human condition. And it just really repulsed me to think about it, and to think of how we are so nonchalant about gold. And everyone, gold and diamonds, oh, it's shiny, I need a grill, I need a new ring, and I need a pair of earrings and a chain, I need 2 chains. And all that gold is mined by cartels that are murdering people and polluting our society with their drugs. So it's something to think about when you're buying your gold. And the gold industry, that's just the tip of the iceberg where it starts with gold. Most gold is traded on paper, not in actual physical gold. So it's a system of IOUs, and it's so manipulated and dirty from the moment it comes out of the ground. And what I learned today about gold just, again, makes me sick, makes me happy that I don't own any of it. I know it is a store of value. I know the history of gold. I know it's been with our civilizations for thousands of years, but it's time to put an end to it. It's time to be done with real gold. We don't need it. There's no real use case. I know we need a little bit of it for our electronics, but people need to grow up. People need to take a real hard look at what's going on in the world with the mining of diamonds and gold at the cost of human lives and human suffering, and you should give a damn. It makes me sick that people just don't care. So that's what I got for you today. Don't buy gold. Gold's stupid. Buy Bitcoin. Buy anything but gold, I don't care how this is not financial advice, of course, and I don't care what you do with your money. But no, if you are investing in gold, you are investing in murder. So with that, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.